Okay, let's take a look at this Chapter 1 practice exam. So if you can do these problems, you will get a very good grade on your Chapter 1 assessment. So for this problem right here, number 1, the left-hand side we can simplify. So we have negative 4b plus 7b. Everybody should know that that's just 3b. The right is going to take a little bit more work to simplify the right because we have to get rid of the parentheses, then combine like terms. So I'm going to distribute this negative. So it's going to become negative b plus 7. Now I have to distribute the negative 5. So I'm going to have minus 5b minus 25. Okay, so all we did was we got rid of the parentheses, but then I still can combine like terms. So as far as the b's, I know negative b minus 5b is going to be minus 6b. And then when I take 7 minus 25, I'm going to get negative 18. Okay, so now it's a matter of the b's are separated by the equal sign and you get the b's together. So I'm going to take the minus 6b, I'm going to add 6b. We get rid of it. This turns into 0. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So this is going to become 9b. And then my last move is to undo multiplication by division. And we get a nice answer of negative 2. Okay. The next one, again, more work. These are more complex. These are, but I promise you I will make it work out nice and neatly for you. So again, just be careful of signs. A negative 6 times negative 8 is 48. Use a calculator if you need to. We're going to get a negative 18p when we take negative 6 times 3. Here we're just doubling. So it's going to be a minus 4p and then a 12. And then on this side is just negative 10p. So you just combine the coefficients. The number in front, negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10. That's how many p's we have on the right-hand side. So on this left-hand side, I can take my numbers. 48 and the 12 is going to become a 60. And then the p's are going to become minus 22p. And then, once again, our variables are separated by the equal sign, so I'm going to get them together. It doesn't matter which side. I'm just going to send the 22p over to the other side. We'll have 60. We'll put the equal sign right there. And then this will be a 12p. I divide by 12, and I get a nice answer of 5. Okay, so again, that's a lot of skills involved. So one little mistake, there goes your answer. So just be careful to eliminate any minor mistakes. Okay, so this one, we'll distribute the negative 4. Here, remember, you can't take 8 plus 6. Okay, order of operations says we have to multiply first. So I need to get a negative 36x because 6 times negative 6x is negative 36x, and then plus 12. Okay, I forgot my x right there, so that would have messed me up if I went back and I was lucky enough to see negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, negative 4 times 6x is negative 24x. Okay, so this can't be simplified. I'm just going to rewrite the left-hand side. It's already simplified, but then over here, 8 plus 12 is 20. So I have 20 minus 36, and what I'm going to do is add a 4, and I'm going to add the 36x to the other side. Okay, and again, just be careful of your calculations. Again, if you need a calculator, you don't type in the x, but you can do negative 24 plus 36. It's going to be a 12. Okay, right there it is. So negative 24 plus 36 is going to be a 12x, and that's going to equal 24. When you divide, hey, we feel good about an answer of 2. Okay, so now here I did give you decimals, but use a calculator. Okay, so I just need you to make sure you're capable of just taking a calculator. So let's make sure you can see this. I have the negative 4 times negative 3.3. That's going to be a positive 13 6.2x. And then I'm just going to rewrite the right-hand side. And then I'm going to subtract the 6.5x. And then I'm going to add the 4. Okay? So I already have the 13.2 in my calculator, so I'm just going to subtract a 6.5 to give me a 6.7x. And then this is going to be 35.51. Okay, so I'm going to take 35.51 divided by 6.7, and I'm going to get an answer of 5.3. And that is correct. So again, this one didn't come out nice and neatly, but we also were dealing with some harder numbers and stuff. But the process is the same. And again, you take advantage. I wouldn't want you to do these calculations in your head. Okay, so then the next page. Okay, for this next problem, number 5, you can tell I made a mistake, so I had to stop my video. I made a careless sign mistake, so be careful with that. So for this problem, we do have to deal with either fractions or decimals. You can convert these to decimals, but I just want you to be aware of how we can handle fractions on our calculators. So if you ever have to deal with fractions, and you have a graphing calculator, just put them as a division problem. So parentheses 7/2 times parentheses -7/2. Okay? So when you hit enter, it's going to give you a decimal, but if I hit the math button and enter, I'm going to see it's -49/4 x. Okay? So back in elementary, you multiply the top, multiply the bottom. Okay? But a calculator can do that for us. And then I'm going to have a plus 7/2. Somehow I wrote a minus 7/2, and that threw everything off. My original time doing this. So now I have to subtract 7/2. So I'm going to show that on a calculator. So we're going to ask the calculator to help us calculate this. So type in 665 divided by 8 in parentheses, so that's the first number, minus 7/2. Okay, it's going to give me a decimal, but if I hit math, enter, I'm going to see it's 637/8. And our last move to get our answer is we're going to divide by -49/4. So I'm going to hit divide. I'm doing multiplication. I'm going to wrap -49/4 in parentheses. I'm going to hit enter, and I get a half decent answer of -6.5. Okay, so again, what we did was we divided by -49/4. So divide, so division, and then -49/4 gives us that answer. Okay, so slightly harder problem, but again, I don't want you to ever live in fear of fractions or decimals. Numbers, let the calculator help you. Okay, so now here's our absolute value section. Most cases, there's 2 answers. So first answer, drop the absolute value bars. And then one move, multiply both sides by 10, and we get a 40. That's one answer. But then you also have to remember, absolute value can be the distance to -4. Okay, so I multiply by 10, I get -40. That's also a solution. If I take -40 divided by 10, I get -4, and the absolute value of -4 is a +4. Absolute value is a distance. Okay, so once again, for this problem, I can drop the absolute value bars, and in one move, so it's just a one step, I subtract, and I'm going to get a 3. Okay, so I know my one answer is a 3. It's real easy to plug in to my original problem. 6 plus 3 is 9. Absolute value of 9 is 9. But I can also find the distance to -9. Okay, so I still subtract 6. So just like we did over here, I didn't show this, but we subtract 6 on both sides. Here, though, it's going to result in a -15. Okay, so just make sure you have both a 3 and -15 as your answers. Okay, So again, don't change this. A negative 3a stays a negative 3a. Okay, so when you find absolute value, I just drop the bars and I solve. So a is going to be a negative 6 in this case. So negative 3 times negative 6 is going to be a positive 18. Absolute value of 18 is 18. But then I'm also going to set it equal to negative 18. And when I divide, I get a positive 6. Okay? So there's your other answer. So just make sure both answers. Down here, I drop the absolute value bars, so it stays x minus 7. I set it equal to 2. One step, again, this is pretty easy. Add 7, you get a 9. I'll show that. Add 7, that's where my 9 came from. And then you go in and remember, set it equal to negative 2. Okay, and in one move, I still add my 7, but this time I'm going to get a 5. When I take negative 2 plus 7, I'm going to get a 5 for number 9. Okay, so 9 and 5 are my answers. This one is just going to take 2 steps to get the answer. For dropping the absolute value bars, my first move is to subtract 6, and I'm going to get a 15. I'm going to divide by 5, and just like that, I know A is a 3. Okay? Now, don't panic on this other one because we will get a fraction. Sometimes these are hard to make out that where both answers are nice and neat, but I'm not going to panic. I have 5a equals negative 27, and when you divide negative 27 divided by 5, you're going to see that it doesn't fit evenly. Okay, since it doesn't fit evenly, either keep it as a fraction. Negative 27 fifths is a fine answer. There's nothing wrong with that. Or you can say negative 5.4. Okay, so it is a decimal, but 3 and this negative 5.4 are the solutions. Again, I'll quickly show that, because if I take 6 times 5 times negative 5.4, I'm going to see, oops, I didn't type that in correctly. So if I take 6 plus 5 times negative 5.4, it's going to be a negative 21, and I'm not even showing that. So all I did was I went to quickly double check to see if this answer plugged into my original problem works. 6 plus 5 times negative 5.4 gave me a negative 21, but since it's absolute value, it's going to be 21 equals 21. So both answers work. Okay. So then this page, we just have more practice with absolute value. So again, you're not going to have this many problems on your exam, but I want you to practice enough. So for this one, no work involved, no solution. Okay, and the reason is absolute value can't be a negative. Okay, so if I tried to solve that, there's no way I can come up with an answer when I plug in a number here, take the absolute value, where it's going to be a negative 17. So just skip it. Now here though, this has an answer. Even though this is equal to negative 21, my first move must be to undo this outside number. So when I divide by negative 7, I turn this into an absolute value equal to 3. Okay, so then it's super easy to understand. 10 is an answer. Take what's inside, set it equal to negative 3, still add your 7, but then we also get an answer of 4. So 10 and 4 are the solutions. So here, the first move must be to add 10, okay? When there's outside numbers, we must undo it. So absolute value of 6k equals 24. Drop the absolute value bars, divide by 6, and we're going to see 4 is an answer. Okay, so k equals 4 is one answer. Redo it with the distance of negative 24, divide by 6, and you're going to see negative 4 is the other solution. Okay? For this one, the hardest one is when there's more than one thing on the outside. So I'm going to subtract 2 first. So I still have that 2 out front, but it's equal to 8. I can't distribute this 2, so I'm just going to divide by 2. And now I have a relatively easy absolute value. I take what's inside, set it equal to 4, subtract 2, and get a 2. And then I'm going to take what's inside, find the distance to -4. When I subtract the 2 from -4, I get -6. Okay, so 2 and -6 are the solutions. Okay. Last two on this page. You can't add these. Okay, -4 plus 3, it's a violation of PEMDAS, so I must add 4 first. So I have 3 times absolute value equals 39. Then I'm going to divide by 13, and I'm going to get a nice, oh, sorry, I said the answer in my head. You divide by 3, but you're going to get 13. Okay, so it's the absolute value of x minus 10 equals 13. So set it equal to 13, add your 10, and you'll get 23. Okay? Redo the problem, set it equal to -13, add your 10, and you get -3 as an answer. Okay? So for 15, 23 is an answer, and -3 is an answer. Okay? For this problem, you may think there's not going to be an answer, because right now it's equal to -49, but watch how this changes. I'm going to subtract my 5. So I have -9 times absolute value of x plus 1 equals negative, and that's going to be a 54. But then I must divide by -9. Okay, that is what's going to wipe out the -9 that's in front. It's the absolute value of x plus 1 equals a nice 6. So from here, though, it's actually very easy. You're going to see that you get a 5 as an answer. And when you set x plus 1 equals to -6, you'll see -7 is an answer. Okay? So 5 and -7 takes care of that page. And our last page, probably hopefully the easiest part of your entire Chapter 1 exam, is when you're solving for y. Okay? So it's going to... Okay, for number 17, I made a careless error, so I need to go back and fix number 17. For number 17, we want to get y by itself. So our first move is to subtract the 3x, send it over. That's easy. So we're left with -2y equals -3x minus 8. And my careless mistake was I divided by 2 instead of -2. So if I want the -2 going, I have to divide everything by -2. Okay, so I'll clean this up. This right here is just 3/2 or 1.5. It's up to you how you want to write it, but I'll just write it as 3/2 x, and then this becomes a plus 4. Okay, so again, really easy to make a sign mistake, so just be careful when you're working out these problems. So check all your answers and make sure you agree with all these answers. And then for this one, my first move is to subtract the 2x, so it's originally positive, I send it over as a negative, and I divide everything by -1, which makes this is going to be a positive 2x and a positive 3. Okay? Again, this is going to eventually lead us to us graphing. Hopefully you have some experience graphing lines. This will be our starting point. That's our slope. It's going uphill at a rate of up 2/1. So we'll talk about that later. This one's probably the easiest one. In one move, I have my answer. Okay, y needed to be by itself. I just had to subtract the 8x. And then this one, 2 moves. First move, subtract the 8x. Second move, divide everything by -3. So if I clean this up, a negative over a negative is just going to become a positive. So again, if this was a line, you're going up 8 units and over 3. So that would be the steepness of that line. And a 15 divided by -3 is a -5. Okay, so again, if you had to graph that line, you're talking about a line that starts along the y-axis at -5, put a dot, then you're going to count up 8 and over 3, and that's going to be a fairly steep line. Okay, so that's everything you're going to need to know for our Chapter 1 exam. So hopefully everything makes sense, and just try to avoid minor errors. Okay? Thank you for watching. Take care.